Coming up, store clerks who fought back. The man trying to rob the pizza shop didn't count on going up against this guy. Plus, a new political humor video makes its debut, the first to star Obama and McCain. That's in Reality Bites, and it turns out this world's greatest dad, Bottom says greatest dad, is allegedly into soliciting sex from kids on the internet. Tonight's winners and losers coming up. But first, convicted killers like Scott Peterson looking for love, friendship, or attention online. It's upsetting many victims' rights advocates. Here's NBC's Michael Oku.
Prisoners call it inside, but even from behind bars, even from the steely confines of death row, prisoners inside are getting their messages out on the internet.
My first thought was that I was quite offended.
Scores of the nation's most notorious convicts, like Scott Peterson, have been seeking pen pals and posting personal web pages, complete with their writings, art, and photographs. Critics say it's an affront to victims' families.
It is shocking and painful and just horrible for that family to experience and to see their child's killer acting as if nothing was wrong.
Prisoners are barred from direct computer access, but they're not barred from sending or receiving regular mail. So inmates simply mail their details to contacts on the outside, who then make sure the information is uploaded onto sympathetic websites. Richard Allen Davis, convicted murderer of 12-year-old Polly Klaas, has a page. So too, serial killer Charles Ng, who calls himself shy and sentimental. Peterson's sites features smiling photos of himself with his wife Lacey, whom he's convicted of murdering while she was pregnant with their unborn son. The site provides links to blogs about his so-called wrongful conviction.
It's as though he has never been convicted. This is the spin machine for a death row inmate in high gear.
States like Missouri and Florida have prohibited inmates from soliciting pen pals on the internet. But prisoners' rights activists say that's wrong.
We have a constitution that protects the right to free speech. The fact that somebody's offended by speech doesn't mean that the government can suppress it.
Or should. And they point to hundreds of overturned convictions, protecting a fundamental right, while others argue it's hardly the right thing to do. Michael Oku, NBC News, Los Angeles.
So should the web be out of bounds for death row inmates? Joining me now, Mark Klaas. His daughter Polly was kidnapped and killed in 1993. Her killer is now showing off his artwork online. And defense attorney Larry Posner is with us. All right, Mark, let me start with you. Why do you think it's so important that they not be permitted to do this?
Well, Dan, these are some of the worst people in our society. They kill with impunity. They take out women. They take out babies. They take out pregnant mothers. They take out multiple victims. They do it all without remorse or without conscience. And they've been put on death row for a very specific reason. They have absolutely no business being in society in any way, shape, or form. And here we have the internet, and we have these friends, these enablers of these death row inmates that are giving them a worldwide audience. Now, I contend that anytime they're allowed a worldwide audience or allowed to have contact with the public at all, their influence is going to continue to be a bad and evil influence, and that society is going to suffer as a result of it.
Larry?
This is just too far-fetched to believe. These people are scheduled to be executed. That seems like a fairly serious penalty. Now, if they put something out to a friend who puts it on a website, nobody wanders into that website. They have to search it out, click on it, and read it. We are protected from anything we don't want to read.
And this is Richard Allen Davis, a man who, unfortunately, Mr. Klaas, you've been forced to follow his life all too closely, wrote this, the man convicted of kidnapping and killing your daughter. Could there be someone out in the world who would be of open mind not to take everything that the media has said about me and be willing to learn for themselves just who I really am? If you want, you can write to me and express your thoughts and feelings. I assume that's the sort of stuff that gets to you.
Well, you know what, Dan? Last night there was a local news story on this very issue, and one of the last images I saw before I fell asleep was an image of Richard Allen Davis. And I have to tell you, I had nightmares all night long. Now listen, the ultimate extension of this is really a threat to society. In 1997, I helped then Wyoming Governor Jim Geringer get a serial killer website off of AOL, and it was run by a fellow named Keith Jesperson, who was encouraging people to murder their employers and to practice on their children, and in fact to send him money and he would send them a serial killer kit. So you know, Mr. Posner can say what he wants, and he can talk about, you know, how these poor souls need to reach out, but these aren't poor souls. These are evil beings incarnate, and if they get their hands on a worldwide audience, or in fact any audience, horrible things can ensue.
Go ahead, Larry.
Well, why don't we tell the truth? If they threaten somebody, it's a crime. If they put out something saying hurt somebody, it's a crime. Then they can be censored. But let's talk about some of the things that Richard Allen Davis has put online. You make your bed, now you must lay in it. My thoughts are, I dug my grave, now I must lay in it. It doesn't strike me as something that ought to be censored. It strikes me as a man saying, look what I've done. I've ruined my life. I'm going to be executed. There is no harm in him publishing it, and there is no harm to those people who wish to read it and wish to reply. And none of us have the right to censor that and say, you can't answer this mail. You can't write to somebody in prison. That's the fundamental dignity of a human being, and it remains even after conviction.
There's no dignity. There's no dignity in anything that these individuals have ever done in their lives. And listen, there's no absolute right to free speech. You can't advocate the overthrow of the government. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. And similarly, these individuals have indicated and demonstrated through their heinous acts and through their lives that they have no business communicating with anybody. Death row is about taking them away from society, not giving them a worldwide access to society.
Larry, let me give you
the day they're executed, they'll be taken away.
Real quick, Larry, just summarize what the legal issue in your mind is here. Put aside the policy
legal issue
issues.
Take out all the threats and all the talk about crime. If a person wants to write something that is not criminal and does not ask or imply that somebody should do something criminal, they have a right to publish that in America, and they have a right to receive letters from those people who wish to write them.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, as you know, I mean, look, Larry, there are a lot of restrictions in prison. You know, prisoners' letters are monitored in a way they wouldn't be monitored in the everyday world, etc. But look, you know, this is a tough issue because as a policy matter, I think that Mark is absolutely right. As a legal matter, I think that Larry may win the legal argument here. So it's a tough one. But Mark Klass and Larry Posner, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Up next, the pizza shop clerk fights back this week, knocking out a would-be robber, joining a long line of other clerks, taking the law and their lives into their own hands. I've interviewed some of the others. We'll show you their stories of why they risked their lives. And the pundits say it's hard to make fun of Obama. One group figured out how to do it. It's coming up in 60 seconds.
To the change we hold dear, I really like change, have I made myself clear?
A hand, unless you want this.